In terms of the power and energy reforms, one of the key reforms has been the adjustment in utility prices, and as a result you see now the CEB is no longer making these huge losses. So I think that was an important reform. Of course that had an impact on households and affordability, and it comes to this point of the importance of supporting the poor and vulnerable who are struggling with this. I think the other point of the reforms is to enhance the governance, the efficiency of the utility, so that over time the production of electricity, the cost is brought down. So if you are charging tariffs according to cost, over time you would see that come down and the affordability would improve.
So how do you remove these SOE reforms in the sense like privatization of telecom, Sri Lanka insurance?
There's a point you make around these SOE reforms and in some sectors where they are profitable. But I think if you look at some of those sectors, the level of competition is relatively low. And actually look at some of the underlying numbers in terms of, say, access, quality of services, prices. In some sectors, certainly we've looked at telecommunications, fares poorly compared to other regions in South Asia as well as beyond. So I think even in those sectors, with greater competition, there could be a much more profitability, much better service delivery, and ultimately even more revenue to the government.
In terms of the areas that the World Bank is supporting, definitely we still have 14 ongoing operations totaling over $2.8 billion in commitment. But then the next one we are discussing is that primary health care, that how we can strengthen and also to scale up the nationwide to improve how the primary care is provided in almost 1,000 or more than 1,000 primary health care. And the other areas we're discussing is renewable energy, as well as help the rural growth and resilience, focusing on agriculture, but then also the irrigation and there's more integrated approach. But those are the areas that we are discussing. This is the future.
How does the World Bank and the country office see the risks of reversals in terms of the reform program?
It's put a lot of burden on Sri Lankan people in several areas, and of course that can lead to reform fatigue. There's the election coming up. I think there's different views. We are concerned about reform fatigue, reform reversal. We think it's important, as I said, it's this bridge to recovery, is that the reforms are critical in those areas to sustain and maintain them.
Of course, nobody can predict how the policy is going to go in the future, but the two areas that we've been really working on and also encouraging the government to do is one is communication, to help the broader stakeholder population to understand why these reforms are important and needed, although some are quite painful in certain areas, and the importance of a continuing reform if we are not to turn back to a more worst case scenario. So communication is critical, explaining the need and how they are interconnected. And second is we have been trying to help the reforms to, as much as possible, to make it harder to reverse turn back.